Back on the Boulevard Thursday, June 13th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome in to our road to the UFL Championship Special. 2.5 months jam-packed with 42 games has all led down to this as we set our sight on Sunday night's spring football spectacle at the Dome in St. Louis, and there are no shortage of storylines heading into this one. Skip Holtz out for revenge after his 15-game streak as a head coach of the Birmingham Stallions was snapped back on Memorial Day weekend in San Antonio. Since then, the Ponies have won back-to-back games over Michigan, claiming their third straight USFL championship. But for Wade Phillips and San Antonio, some unfinished business as well. Last year in Houston, they believed it should have been them instead of the rival Renegades with the XFL crown. So they pull off an upset of the Battlehawks in emphatic fashion. The Brahmas are XFL champs and now one win away from making the Rock and his Brahma Bull roots proud. You can feel some of the tension in these rivalries, right? You got the brand supremacy, the XFL versus the USFL clashing. Stallions defensive line coach Bill Johnson, who worked under Wade Phillips last year, now standing across from him on enemy sidelines. From a pair of California kids squaring off at quarterback, and Chase Garbers for San Antonio and league MVP Adrian Martinez. What will Matt Corral have to say about that? We're here to get you ready for the 2024 UFL Championship game. I'm joined tonight by the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook. Zook, are you packed for St. Louis and ready to go for Sunday yet?
Not yet. Too much prep for this damn show.
You better get packing, baby. We got an early flight on Saturday morning.
I know. Well, way to give away the tour, you know.
Oh, we're going already, right? That wasn't a question. That wasn't a question. And for our other contributor who may have bought tickets to this game thinking his Battlehawks would be in it, back on the Boulevard for a second straight week, the People's Gambler live from parts unknown.
Yeah, we are live from Studio TPG all the way in the Midwest. So thank you guys for having me on again. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Great to have you boys with me tonight. On tonight's show, a full rewind of Week 9's shocker in San Antonio. We're going to refresh your memory on maybe a few things from that meeting that could reappear Sunday. Also, our keys to a championship for both sides of this matchup, complete with some sound from Skip Holtz, Brahmas offensive coordinator AJ Smith. We're also going to hear from DC Will Reed, and we're going to wrap it up with our picks. And of course, it wouldn't be Springball Boulevard without some championship week best bets. Thanks for being here. If you're with us on YouTube, drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. For those with us on Twitter or X tonight, hit us with a retweet and share. Really appreciate you. And our Facebook and podcast audience as well, show us some love. So leading us off tonight, I want to sit back and relax for a little bit because we've got to rewind to Week 9. Let's dissect a matchup that really shook the UFL world. It was the 8.5-point underdog San Antonio Brahmas knocking off the unbeaten Stallions on Memorial Day weekend. And more importantly, what happened in this meeting that will matter for Sunday's sequel? Let's go ahead and roll the tape, Zook. It was the afternoon of Saturday, May 25th, as 8-0 Birmingham visited 6-2 San Antonio, a yellow-out inside the Alamo Dome. Just the second game back for Brahmas tailback Anthony McFarland after missing 5 weeks with a shoulder injury, and his quarterback Quentin Dormady making his 5th straight start. But quarterback Chase Garbers reactivated off IR and listed as his backup. So the Brahmas take the ball, start the opening drive in 21 personnel. John Lovett out for this one, so we see a lot of Juice Ellison, and they'll hand to him short run right here just to get things going. On the next play, Brahma's going to get McFarland in space. He makes the linebacker miss and move the chains. That would begin a huge day for him. Now a pistol look on first down with 4 receivers. Anthony McFarland going to explode up the middle for another first down and move the ball into plus territory. Here we go again with 41. McFarland into the flat. They get him one-on-one with the same linebacker Gates yet again. That was the plan all day. It was third straight touch on this drive, so he'll get a breather, tag out for Juice Ellison. Watch this run develop. Just a bad first series so far for DeMarquise Gates and another Brahmas first down. Now watch here. The Stallions are going to rush the slot corner, Quentin Dormady going to step up, try to get away, but Daniel Isom gets home. This blitz worked out for the defense. So next play, the Brahmas end up 5 wide with McFarland near side. Stallion's going to rush again. Watch DeMarcus Gates, number 47 here. Redeems himself with a blindside hit. Ball is loose, recovered by the defense. And we're going to take another look at this one because the tight end has a route. So nobody's going to pick up Gates here. And that's going to set up Quentin Dormady, who's setting up for a throw to just get walloped and lose the ball. So now the opening series for the Stallions. Skip Holtz calling the plays. They'll start with trips, bunched to the near side in 11 personnel. They get the bubble screen look on play 1, but the party gets crashed by the defense. The next play was the cleanest pocket Martinez really saw all day. Over the middle to Amari Rogers. That was a first down across midfield. And as you can see after that, the Brahmas start getting home. Sack number 1 of the afternoon by Garrett Nelson. And that's important because it brings up a 3rd and 12. So here's Martinez. He is able to step up in the pocket, but he's going to throw short of the sticks, maybe 4-down territory at the plus 38, but the Stallions elect to punt. So it's Quentin Dormady back out there with McFarland. They go run on first down. This one's going to get stuffed, set them behind the sticks. Next one, they move McFarland to the slot. Watch him here. He'll chip and run a route. But Dormady's looking for Latimer downfield. He climbs a ladder, hangs onto it. Safety comes in headhunting. Easy 15-yard personal foul on Kenny Robinson for that. Let's look at it again. Latimer going to beat the linebacker, run across the middle, make the play. But unfortunately, this would be the end of his season and possibly his football career because he said coming into 2024 that this would be his last season. Unfortunately, Latimer would be carted off midway first quarter to a standing ovation, and A.J. Smith would change the name of the next play call from Dr. Pepper to Cody Latimer. It's a motion for Kirkland, so of course the defense is thinking it's a reverse. They cheat up for the run. Justin Smith gets behind the defense. Touchdown off the double pass. Fireworks in the Alamo Dome. This was 30 seconds after Cody Latimer's injury. I mean, how can you not love football after seeing that? Looking at it again from up top, you'll see Justin Smith, number 10. He's just going to run straight by 2 guys here who are both selling out for the run. And Kirkland gets just enough on this to beat the safety. Dr. Pepper goes for 6. For Jontre Kirkland, his second pass touchdown of his spring football career to his buddy Justin Smith. The Brahmas bring in Chase Garbers to go for 2. A little bit uncomfortable early. He throws high on his first pass in 6 weeks. Started thinking maybe he'd be the PAT quarterback only, but it's 6-0 Brahmas, 6:43 to go first. Stallions need an answer now, so they're going to go read option. Martinez pulls it here. Nice block from his wide receiver to get a first down. We'll set up in a tight bunch here, looking like another RPO. Adrian going to make the right read again for another positive gain. That would set up 3rd and 1 from midfield. So out comes the T formation. 7 across the line of scrimmage against Brahmas 5. Delonte Scott, 45 off the left edge. Gonna just blow up the spot here. Now the linebackers come flying in. Person gets away, but here comes the safeties. Perfect execution by all 3 levels, and the Stallions got a punt yet again. Watch 45 Scott here. I mean, just eats the T formation alive. Stallions backs had a long day against this run defense. 3rd drive now for San Antonio. Look what we have here. Chase Garbers, not just the PAT QB. They go with a pistol look with McFarland behind him. Just going to ease him into the game a little bit here with the handoff, get him in a sort of a rhythm after 6 weeks out. But the next one, they do drop him back. Garbers using the legs, gets away from the rush. Little pump fake here, turns upfield for a nice gain. 14. Back in the mix for San Antonio. Here's a 3rd and 9 to open the second quarter. And this can happen when you're switching quarterbacks. They get a costly false start from Marquez Stevenson there. And that can happen because you've gotten used to Quentin Dormady. Now it's Garbers back in there. So 3rd and 14, Stallions rush 4. The line holds up, but Garbers throws a loaf of bread into double coverage intended for Justin Smith. That is not what A.J. Smith wanted to see, and they got a punt. 3rd series now for Birmingham after 2 punts. They go trips far side. Garrett Nelson going to win the rush here, but 9 is going to get out and run, throws across his body to Marable, but he can't hang on. Remember, he is a running back. A dart here from Adrian Martinez. Definitely catchable, but just coming in too hot for a running back. They did give it back to CJ on 2nd down here, who would redeem himself with a nice run to midfield. May have been his longest carry on the day. And this is where Martinez is at his best. Navigating the pocket, getting upfield into plus territory, and another Stallions first down. Next play, Brahmas 4-man rush gonna win. But again, the escapability for Martinez turns a sack into a 5-yard gain. Those plays are huge. Second down now, Ricky Person carrying for the first. This was the 4th run in a row on this drive. And we're going to make it 5 in a row. Birmingham's first trip to the red zone on drive number 3. But then they start to throw again. Little screen here for Marable. Brahmas stampeding to the ball. Look at all the yellow jerseys in the area here. That would set up third down where Martinez has an open Jordan Thomas, but he slips, and it's incomplete. Drive crusher there, but they do get on the board with a 34-yard kick. 6-3 Brahmas, 9:17 to go first half. Back out for Garber's second series. They're going to try to get him in rhythm, up 3 points in this game. It's an RPO look on a slant to Jontre Kirkland. He sheds off a tackler, going to outrun 2 more, ripping off a huge gain into the red zone. Jontre Kirk, now they try McFarland out of the wild bull. Snap almost flies over his head, but he gets a first down anyway. Then he goes ahead and tags out for Juice Ellison. Garber's here, going to keep it on the RPO. Nice block from Mack, the tight end. And he's just going to barrel over the corner for the first down, lowering his shoulder. It was Juice Ellison on the goal line from there, extending the ball for 6. And we've got a 9-point game. That drive had to do a ton for Chase Garber's confidence. Morgan Ellison will take another look here at the Hops. His first touchdown since he scored against the Brahmas as a Sea Dragon. They do a 1-point conversion to try to go up 2 scores. 4 receivers set. 5-man rush. Gonna force Garbers to get rid of it. Incomplete. 12-3 Brahmas, 5:47 to go first half. So we go back to the Stallions after 2 punts and a field goal. Had us questioning, what's wrong with this offense? They try to get the pass game going here. Martinez will find an open Marlon Williams who moves the sticks. And it'll be another pass call from Skip Holtz. Adrian hooking up with Deion Kane. First down in the plus territory. But on third down, they falter yet again. Adrian trying to squeeze it in for Deion Kane, but Darius Phillips pokes it out. Could make an argument for 4-down territory here, but they will punt from the plus 44. And it works out because Madre Harper gonna save this one and down it inside the 5-yard line. What a play. Take another look here. Mike Pereira talked through this one in the booth, and it ended up making a difference because San Antonio would be backed up in the shadows of their own end zone with 2.5 minutes to go. So Wade Phillips not happy. All 3 timeouts, you got to go 65 yards just to get in field goal range. So they line up on first down. Can they do it? Well, the Stallions make a nice open field tackle on Anthony McFarland here, and a timeout by Skip Holtz, who thinks he's getting the ball back. A.J. Smith says, thanks, I'll take a free timeout anytime. 3rd and 6, Garber's going to find Stevenson for a conversion. 1:44 to go. They've been running a lot, but got to throw it now. A.J. Smith dialing up that air raid. Here on a 2nd and 4, first down to Justin Smith, but he stays in bounds. Brahma's not going to use the timeout yet. 3rd and 5. They'll go right back to Smith, and this time he drags the defender to the sideline. So San Antonio executing in 2 minutes before half here. This is when you knew Chase Garbers was all the way back. Pump fakes and throws a rope to Kirkland along the sideline. That faced them with a 3rd and 11 from the plus 38. They don't need it all here, just a few more yards to get Santoso in range. So after the punt was down at the 2, they go 65 yards in 2 minutes, and Santoso at the horn from 53, bonk, off the left post. You gotta be kidding. I mean, this is still a 1-score game. Let's have another look at it. He gets enough power. I mean, that ball is smoked, but it's just a hair left. So it's 12-3 San Antonio in the break, and you can see from the box score, the home team dominates the first half. First time all year, Stallions trailed at the break, but they would start with the ball in a 1-score game. Move the back around here and fake to him. Gonna try another bubble just like the opening play. Corner blows by Kane and crashes the party, not giving anything up. But the next play, Martinez will fit it through a window to Jace Sternberger, who's been a yards after catch machine. He rumbles down inside of the 10. Birmingham's longest gain of the day on drive number 5, but hold your churros here, folks. Coach Wade popping out that red flag to super challenge. He says he was out of bounds at the 23. So about a 15-yard swing here. Pereira says Sternberger was in bounds. They get it at the 6 and use a 12 personnel look at the goal line. But San Antonio sniffing out the run yet again. Big loss for Ricky Person. Skip Holtz says, hell with the run game. Let's throw it to the guy who got us here. Corner route, Martinez drops it in the bucket. Touchdown, Stallions. Finally, on drive number 5, Jay Sternberger carries the team on that drive, and we got a 3-point game. So instead of tying it up, they'll just try the 2-point conversion here. We're looking at Deion Kane on the far side. Runs his route a yard or two shallow instead of pushing that corner deep. No good. So 12-9 Brahmas, 12:49 to go third. It'll be the opening drive of the second half for San Antonio. Here comes McFarland on fresh legs. Shot out of a cannon for a first down. But instead of pounding it on the next play, they mix it up with a pass. And that was a mistake because Carlos Davis is going to beat the guard, and Birmingham has their second sack of the afternoon that forced a 3rd and long. They decide not to throw downfield, just a screen for Speedy Stevenson, and Birmingham's there to finish it off. So they score and hold Brahmas to a punt. Good start. Now Stallions with a chance to take the lead with Marlon Williams. They'll open up with an end around for him. Solid gain. And on second down, they finally get the look they've been going for. This became the Williams drive. First down from him here. But they did keep trying to mix in the run. Even on a passing down, the Brahmas weren't full. Just play after play of negative runs, crushing momentum. 3rd and long is the last place you want to be against this crowd on the road. But they do pick one up here. Marlon Williams in the slot, number 17 out there making plays. Next one we want to watch, number 11 for San Antonio. Devontae Beckett off the left edge, rushes the passer, comes back around to stop Marable. That was a touchdown-saving tackle. 3rd down in plus territory now. Delonte Scott with the hurry. Martinez is flushed, and he's going to end up floating one high for Benjamin Victor. So again, maybe 4-down territory here on the plus 44, unless you trust your defense. But they're going to punt, and it doesn't work out because a touchback comes out to the 25 in this league. You only net 19 yards. Let's fast forward to a 3rd and 5 for San Antonio. It's Chase Garbers looking for Jontre Kirkland, and the ball is going to be there, but he just can't hang on. Too focused on the feet. They go 3 and out. Skip Holtz looking like a genius for punting now. No better time to take the lead back. What better way to do that than go back to Sternberger? But Darius Phillips reads this like a book. Nearly picked off. Let's get the sideline look at it. Stallions exhale. They get very lucky. Phillips didn't pick this one off. It was again the Delonte Scott show off the left edge. Watch him here circled. He's going to burn the tackle and drag Martinez down. Good to see him get a sack because he had so many hurries. That set up another 3rd and long. And while the Stallions did convert the last one, you'd think Holtz would stay aggressive, but kind of just checked down here to Sternberger. No yards after the catch for him, and they punt. Now the 8th drive of the game for San Antonio, trying to bounce back off that 3 and out. What does Pat McAfee say? Big gaping holes. You can't run block better than this. I mean, McFarland's showing out. So let's do it again. I mean, they got this guy on sale. He should be making NFL money tomorrow. This was the number 1 rush defense in the league, a tailback and an air raid scream, and look at him go. Now they set up counter with Juice Ellison. So they're going to get everybody going one way and then flip to the tight end. Great play design. He storms up the field into the red zone. This next play would have looked amazing if it worked, but the Stallions defense stayed home. They actually thought they may have forced a turnover, but remember, even if it was behind the line of scrimmage, it was an incomplete pass. See it again here. Kind of a fake reverse look to Marquez Stevenson. Tillman going to read that immediately and take wind out of the San Antonio sails because it wasn't just an incompletion, actually an illegal formation as well. So 2nd and 16, Garbers leading McFarland on the wheel. This looks like a touchdown at first until you realize Jontre Kirkland lit up the linebacker on his route. I mean, this may have been the most obvious OPI call of the day. Watch Kirkland here. He's going to sort of sit on his route, which is fine, but he gets way too aggressive there, throwing his hips. They get him for the pick, and you see how that frees McFarland up with green grass in front of him. So back-to-back penalties for the Brahmas, a promising drive gone wrong, and it gets even worse when they break the huddle. Watch Chase Garbers and Juice Ellison, 14 and 27 here. Juice Ellison appears to accidentally step on Garber's Achilles. Kind of just sniped him by accident. I mean, we all know the pain from that back in the grade school days, getting a flat tire in the hallway. But Chase Garber's gonna fight through the pain. You see the significant limp there as they zoom in on his cleats. He was still limping after the game. So 3rd and 26 for the Brahmas. Play for the field goal here. Nope. He goes Brett Favre into double coverage, incomplete to Landon Akers. But a flag comes in. So what's it gonna be? DPI, late hit? Well, we know one thing. It's going to be on 24 in red. That's Kenny Robinson. So we initially thought this was about the hit, but you see Akers talking to Robinson kind of like it was something after the play. Let's take another look at it. So it's not a hit to the head or neck like the one on Latimer was, but he's laying on the receiver on the ground, taking that extra jab. And stuff like that is why Kenny Robinson isn't in the NFL. Second personal foul, and Holtz can't believe it. He says 3rd and 25. I mean, now it's 1st and goal. You see Robinson here, just too much after the play. They throw the flag. It's 1st and goal. They hand to McFarland. Such a big game for him, but no touchdowns yet. And this is not what you want to see if you're a Brahmas fan. He grabs that same right shoulder. They kept him out for 5 weeks. You see that arm kind of hanging limp to the sideline. His day was done. So the last running back left on the roster, Juice Ellison, bounces it outside, and he's going to double dip for his second score. What a nightmare for Birmingham. I mean, 3rd and 26, and because Kenny Robinson had to taunt there, you go down 9 in the 4th. Birmingham has not been in this situation. Let's take another look at the touchdown here. Linebacker meets Juice in the gap, but he's one cut and gone. Coach Wade loving that. And check this out on the next clip. Kenny Robinson going to glance over, see if the officials are watching, then take off his helmet and yell, "You're a bitch!" to the Brahmas sideline. I mean, come on, Robinson. Take it like a man. So for the crucial 1-point try, we see 11 personnel trips to the far side. They try running middle with Puka Williams, but he's only 5'8", 165. Surprised they didn't go back to Ellison there. Still a one-score game. Plenty of time for the Stallions. Can't go 3 and out here. Need a touchdown drive. They're going to start it off nicely on 1st down with a little out route to Deon Kane. Top of your screen. He ends up with a 1st down. Next play, we highlight the D-end. Jalen Twyman rushing against the guard. He's going to blow by on the one-on-one. Another sack for the defense. 3rd and final one of the day, which is a lot for a guy who can run like Adrian. 3rd and manageable at midfield. Martinez wants this one-on-one go route with Kane, but he just overthrows him. That could have been caught. He had a step on the corner. So, yet again, decision time for Skip Holtz, down 9 with 6 to go, 4th and 4 from the 50. They decide to punt again, even after giving up a touchdown last drive, but they do pin San Antonio back. So next drive is like NCAA football, where you switch your tempo from aggressive to conservative. AJ Smith says, "We're chewing clock here. Remember, no Anthony McFarland or John Lovett." You see him coaching up Puka Williams. 3rd and 6, a crucial one for the Birmingham D. Problem is, you can't tackle the receiver. That's against the rules. 3rd down DPI, moves the sticks, Brahmas keep marching. Again, see Clark here, draped on Smith like a cheap suit. That's a costly mistake. Brahmas do get a penalty of their own, 2nd and long, and that clock just ticking away. More conservative stuff here from AJ Smith on 2nd and 20. 4th down is going to come up at the 2-minute warning. Stallions don't use a timeout. Enter Bad Brad Wing. Hits an absolute piss missile here. I mean, this thing orbited, I can't even see it on TV. It landed on the 24. It went 75 yards in the air, and Brad Wing going to come up flexing on him. Later on, Wade Phillips called that the game-winning punt, but the Stallions had a thing going for them. All 3 timeouts. Got to go 75 yards in a minute 50. Martinez gets 15 of them. The Riders on 1st down. They play with urgency. 5 wide set again here. Martinez going to set up the pump fake. And Kevin Austin is open, but he just turns to the wrong shoulder. Devastating mistake from the receiver. They had the explosive play dialed up, but it falls incomplete. Stops the clock, 1:32 to go. Brahmas win on the rush, but Adrian escapes. There he goes across midfield. 1:09 left now. Still got all 3 timeouts, but the Alamo Dome crowd comes through. False start on the offense. Credit to the yellow out. These fans were rocking. They want playoffs back in the city. Skip Holtz, what you got in those bag of tricks? And for Delonte Scott, this could have been like his 5th sack on this next play. He had so many hurries. But look at Martinez. Just a wizard in the pocket. Able to throw this one away. He saves them from going even farther behind the sticks. Under a minute now, 2 timeouts. Little 7-yard out route to the sideline for Marlon Williams complete. Makes it 3rd and manageable. And Martinez gets a clean pocket on the next one. So he goes right back to the bread and butter. Jay Sternberger, who fights inside the 30. 7 catches for 110 yards and a score. 40 seconds to play now. Stallions fans, have some faith. Jay Sternberger again trying to get out of bounds, but a big play by Keys to keep him in. Timeout, 33 seconds, 22-yard line. Will the streak survive? Brahmas fans going crazy. Martinez escapes again, put a straitjacket on him. 40-yard bomb to the end zone. Picked off by Tease Tabor. Game, set, match, and streak. I was on the near sideline for this one. And you talk about absolute moment of the year in the UFL. Those fans went bonkers. It was just an eruption, a release of joy. for a city who's been sort of overlooked for an NFL franchise. They suffered through a bad season last year, and they just got to watch a walk-off interception. And remember, even if Birmingham would have kicked a field goal there, they would have had a chance at the 4th and 12. So the pick wipes that out of the picture, and the Brahmas win it 18-9. We saw Wade Phillips and Skip Holtz in the pregame with a nice conversation to each other, and they exchanged some pleasantries after the game as well. Nothing but respect from those two guys. Adrian Martinez did not have his best day. He will surely need a better day on Sunday. For Anthony McFarland, who came out of the game with 8 minutes to go, still 15 carries for 82 yards, 6 catches for 34 yards. And how about Chase Garbers? He only played 3 quarters in this one, but he will absolutely play 4 if he can stay healthy. In the UFL championship, it was Brahmas snapping the streak with an 18-9 win. So, as we transition out of Week 9's meeting, and now we focus on the present, which is the championship, what can we take away from all that 3 weeks later? Well, I kind of like AJ Smith's comments this week because he said this is a completely different game because both teams have evolved. And he's sort of right on the money about his offense. In Week 9, you had a maybe 50% Chase Garbers. He only played 3 quarters. Now you have him back. I don't think he's fully healthy yet, but I'd give him maybe 75%. He's a little banged up, but he'll start the full game if he can go. In Week 9, you had a 60% Anthony McFarland, who came out with, like I said, about 9 minutes left. Now you've got him back. Don't think he's fully healthy, but I would say 90%. He's sustaining hits at a higher level than he was able to in Week 9. In Week 9, you had no John Lovett. Now he's back and fully rested, but most importantly, in Week 9, you were missing 2 starting offensive linemen, your first-round draft pick center Alex Millette, and your right tackle Greg Island. You can't really say Cody Latimer is the difference because he went out on the first drive in Week 9, and they beat Birmingham, who was down, San Antonio down half the offense, but 18 points, not going to be enough to beat the Stallions this time around. What do odds makers think of this offense? What are the computers saying as we take a look at some of the key players here? Anthony McFarland, John Trey Kirkland, and Alize Mack. We'll get into those guys a little bit later. What do odds makers think of this whole offense, though? What are the computers saying? We can tell by the line on this game. Week 9, it was Stallions minus 8.5. Over-under was 44. So you think with that spread in total, odds makers assumed about a 27-18 Stallions win. So they nailed the Brahmas point total then. Now in the championship, Stallions minus 3.5, over-under is 42. So they're calling for, what, a 23-20, 24-19 type of Stallions win in the championship. Notice how the San Antonio offense hasn't gotten much love, right, in their eyes. It was just a 2-point increase offensively from Week 9, and this is after a 400-yard, 25-point explosion against St. Louis. So odds makers expecting a little bit of regression to the mean. Here's why San Antonio can score 30 in this game. Chase Garbers knows how big this moment is for him. When he came into the year, his offensive coordinator compared him to P.J. Walker, the same P.J. Walker who just signed a 1-year deal with the Seahawks that'll put him over $6 million in earnings since his time in XFL 2020. That's according to our friend Pat Ruffino. Great looks on that stat. My point is, a spring football championship game for a 25-year-old undrafted quarterback and the potential to win MVP and have it presented by the GOAT, Tom Brady, who will be in attendance, this could do wonders for Chase Garbers. It could be a gold mine for his career. So I think you're going to see the best Garbers you've seen all year. I was wrong about this kid in Week 1. I was shocked they started him over Dormady, but I quickly found out in those first 3 starts that he was, in fact, the guy. And if you want to talk about regression to the mean, sure, maybe San Antonio will have 1 or 2 less explosive plays than they did against St. Louis. But on the other side of the coin, Birmingham not getting 3 picks. Garbers completes 69% of his passes. Does struggle a little bit, as we saw on the rewind in the red zone pass game. I noticed sometimes he gets a little inaccurate down there compared to like maybe an A.J. McCarron, right, who's more elite in the red zone. So that's maybe a weakness, but Other than that, I'm all in on Garbers. I think he has an MVP type game against a Stallions secondary that has just given up way too many explosive plays the last 2 weeks. So, talking again about some of those key players, let's look at the weapons Garbers will have at his disposal. You got a running back, you got a receiver, and a tight end that I want to highlight. The first two, McFarland and Kirkland, they're the straw that really stirs the drink for A.J. Smith and San Antonio. They accounted for 43% of the offensive production last week. Pretty heavy load for two guys. And the third is Alizé Mack. We'll get to him in a minute. He's not here for his stats or his playmaking ability, but I do expect him to have a very important job as the only active tight end on the roster. Start with Anthony McFarland. I saw an interesting stat from Jake Tribby of Fantasy Points that looks at weighted opportunity, which is one of the best stats for running back efficiency. So what McFarland has done per touch the last 3 weeks is 500% more efficient than the next best guy. That was Jacob Sailors, who had himself a great season in St. Louis. So pound for pound, Anthony McFarland might be the best player in the UFL. His only weakness, he's made of glass. He's not in the UFL because the Steelers decided to give up on him. That didn't happen. He's in the UFL because he got hurt twice in 4 years and was never able to get going. We saw the same thing this season. Out for 5 weeks, comes back week 8, next game week 9, re-injures the shoulder, has to come back out for 2 more weeks. So if we get a full 60 of Anthony McFarland, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. The Brahmas are scoring 30. He's just that much of a difference maker out there. You saw in the breakdown, can't cover him out of the backfield with a linebacker. His 4.4 speed, probably faster than your corners and safeties, accelerates through the hole, just a great burst. Only way to get to Anthony McFarland is put a shoulder into him and try to hit him hard because he isn't as durable as you would like your bell cow running backs to be at just 5'8" and under 200 pounds. Next up for me is Jontre Kirkland. And I don't actually expect Kirkland to really have that big of a game, but it's the defensive game planning that he's going to attract because he's a triple threat, right? We see him as a receiver. We've seen him as a runner. And yes, we've even seen him as a passer. But the fourth element there is a decoy. That could open up possibilities for the offense. And sure, Kirkland led the league in targets, right? It's not really close. He had 87. I think the next guy was Justin Hall with maybe 77. So really another telling comment when you listen to A.J. Smith talking this week dealt with A.J. saying when he rewatched some championship games, specifically the Super Bowl, he noticed a recurring theme in those games. And it seemed to be the third or fourth wide receiver, the backup tight end, the fullback, or somebody who wasn't integral necessarily in the box score the whole year, having a huge game in the championship. So why is that, right? That's because of guys like Jontre Kirkland. That's where his impact comes in. They don't need 11 catches and 200 yards from Kirkland on Sunday, but they need him to play every snap because it frees up Marquez Stevenson, who might be the fastest player on the field, and Justin Smith, who's coming off back-to-back huge games. They will benefit from it. I think one of those two guys might be in the MVP conversation, probably Stevenson. I think he has a monster game on Sunday night. So if you're looking at first TD props, you're looking at anytime TD props, Stevenson is a guy who was sort of injured midseason, played through it. A lot of people didn't know that. Now he's getting back to form just like everybody on this team. But Chase Garbers has to have time to find those guys, right? San Antonio's O-line trending in the right direction. Week 9, they allowed 3 sacks. Week 10, 2 sacks. Playoff, just 1 sack. And while it's unlikely that they're going to hold Bill Johnson's defensive line for the Stallions without a sack, they have been playing better. And like we mentioned, they're back at full strength with 2 of their starters back. The last key I want to touch on is Alizé Mack. And this really deals with more than just Mack himself. It's more of his position, right? The tight end position, how it fits into this offense. Remember, they lost Cody Latimer in week 9. Since then, Mack, the only tight end on the roster. So No such thing as 12 personnel for them unless they're going to move a tackle in or move a tackle out, to tight end, or maybe move a receiver that can block to tight end. So it's tough. And I got thinking when Latimer went out, well, it sucks, right? Because he plays a lot of receiver and slot receiver. But when you think about this air raid offense, which A.J. Smith has sort of put his own touch on, learning it from Hal Mummy and Mike Leach, and sort of a similar look with June Jones, who does the run and shoot, which is very identical to this. None of those offenses really use tight ends. If you remember, 2023 Sea Dragons, name their tight end, right? If you can, you're a UFL nerd because they barely use them. 23 Roughnecks barely use the tight end. So I wasn't too concerned about the Brahmas having a lack of depth at that position because the receivers are so good until I realized this. The adjustment that A.J. Smith made to put the San Antonio Brahmas into the championship, he ran the ball. He didn't do that last year. 2024 Brahmas come in at a 45% run rate. 2023 Roughnecks, 40%. It might seem like a small 5% difference. That is huge when you look at attempts. And they started off, San Antonio did, this year slinging it. So this has been more of an adjustment as the year goes on. I'm sure if you look at the last 5 games, it might even be closer to 50% pass and run. So that's making such a difference. Let's tie this all back in to Alizé Mack. It's hard to run the ball when you've got one tight end active, especially when you're looking at the other sideline and they got Sternberger, Jordan Thomas, and Marcus Baugh all active for the championship. So San Antonio flew in another tight end this week, Matt Seibert. And here's what we know. And this is all I'm saying about this because I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. San Antonio had an open roster spot because Landon Akers is out Sunday. So according to a source close to the team, Matt Seibert flies into HQ, passes his physical, and was ready to sign one-game deal for the championship. From there, allegedly, the league made a personnel ruling not to block or not to veto Seibert being signed. Remember, you got to watch these fan Instagram accounts who are inaccurately paraphrasing my tweet. It wasn't veto. It wasn't block. It was to discourage the Brahmas from making the signing. After that, they signed wide receiver Tavon Salter instead. More details are going to surface in time about this situation. But that is all I know about it right now. So we're going to leave it at that. That is why Alizé Mack plays a huge role in the offense if they're going to run the ball. He's going to have to block his ass off. That's my look at the offense. And Zook will tell you defense wins championships, right? He's been all about it since the 23 Roughnecks had a great defense. Now we go to him for the defensive breakdown for the San Antonio Brahmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Defense wins championships. San Antonio hasn't looked strong this year. None of their wins were real pretty. But what I will tell you is that they only allowed 15.3 yards or points per game. They're just stout offensive or defensively. They've only given up 20 points one time this year, and that was to St. Louis. This is a classic Wade Phillips defense, and it's only getting stronger. I want to highlight a few key players, and these are my heavy hitters of the year. These 3 guys have accumulated 208 yards between them, and their rankings in the UFL for tackles is Mosley at 2, Beckett at 3, and Williams at 7. I really want to highlight this defense's ability to stop the run. This front 7 can get after the run and the quarterback. In week 9, they held Birmingham to 78 yards rushing. Adrian Martinez had 56 of them. Ricky Person Jr., -1 yard, 7 carries. They had 3 sacks and recorded 5 tackles for a loss. They held the Stallions to 2 red zone appearances and only allowed them to cash in 1 time. This defense has great lateral speed, sideline to sideline. They force you to try to run up the middle When that don't work, you bounce it outside, and they run you down like a dog. This Brahmas defense made Martinez one-dimensional and forced him to throw the ball 32 times, which is not good. On to third down defense. They held Birmingham to 30%. Average third down distance, 7.8. The Stallions had 9 drives. 6 resulted in punts, one as an interception. They also forced a fumble but didn't recover. San Antonio focused on field position and didn't let Birmingham get past the 33 average. This footage highlights the speed of the defense. They force you to throw the ball, then they play sticks and gang tackle. They give up 200 yards in the pass game, but that's kind of by design. They just want to make sure that you catch the ball and they tack you right away and limit that yard after catch. I do want to highlight some penalties. Weeks 1 and 2, defensively, they had 13 penalties for 152 yards. Since then, they're averaging 2.4 penalties per game, roughly 20 average yards. I mean, that's just disgusting. What an adjustment that they have made. My only concern about this team is one guy, and we're going to go to special teams, and that's Mr. Sanoso. The stat pretty much speaks for itself, and if you're Wade Phillips, you're pretty confident from 45 in, 50-plus game winner. What do? I'm not so confident. I'd love to see how this shakes out. So that's my take on the San Antonio defense. Bounce it back to the boy, Matt Fresh.
Yeah, and for the San Antonio defense, Zook got the easy part right. That thing sells itself. I mean, you look at a matchup where you have the number 1 scoring offense against the number 1 scoring defense. I think it's a great point that he makes about the scoring. And just since that St. Louis game back in week 3 where they gave up 31, just not giving up 20 to any opponent. Will Reed deserves the coordinator of the year. Remember, this is a guy who took over for Brian Stewart, who left for a college defensive coordinator job, and Wade Phillips had to find a DC, and he had worked with Reed. I think Reed was actually an intern with him or a graduate assistant at one of his 53 stops that he's made in his career. So great job from Reed, and we're going to hear from Will Reed a little bit later in the show. But for now, Zook and I have sold you on the San Antonio Brahmas, right? Which, if a lot of you are joining us, I'm guessing that's your pick. I'm not totally sure where our audience is going for this. So we did have to bring in the People's Gambler to sell us on why the Birmingham Stallions can beat San Antonio and win a 3rd straight spring football championship.
Flipping sides to the USFL conference champions, the Birmingham Stallions. They took care of the Panthers a week ago and enter this championship matchup with revenge on their minds. This group is led by their fearless leader, Skip Holtz, who has built a rather impressive resume coaching spring football. 31-4? Are you kidding me? Not to mention back-to-back USFL championships. And I don't care what sport you're talking about, but winning back-to-back championships is something very hard to do. So kudos to Skip Holtz and his GM, Zach Potter, for a job well done. Holtz is the architect of this Stallions offense, and you heard him tell Martinez last week, this offense is tried and true. It is tested and it works. For 3 years, we have been running this offense. So it is no fluke that the Stallions lead the league in total offense, but the most dangerous aspect of the Stallion squad is their coaching ability to make halftime adjustments and have outscored their opponents by more than double in the second half of games this season. So let's dive into this Stallions offense a little further, and it starts with the big boys up front. O-line, oh yeah. Averaging 315 pounds, this offensive line has led the way for the best rushing attack in the league and has ran for almost 100 more yards than the next best team. This group is led by their man in the middle, fan favorite Cole Schneider, who has provided Zook consistently with his favorite moments of the year. The Stallions' success as a team is a reflection of how good these 5 individuals have played together this season, and they will need to dominate in the run game this week as they match up against a very physical front 7. Moving on to the backs who have ran behind this offensive line all year, CJ Marable and Ricky Person Jr. In comparison, they are identical on paper. The only difference being Person is a little better of a receiver out of the backfield, so look for him to get involved in the passing game on Sunday night. But these two are both physical runners, and they are not trying to go around you. Rather, they are trying to go through you. It is noteworthy that Marable was the more efficient back a week ago, carrying the ball 8 times for 77 yards, so I expect him to get the start, but him in Person will likely rotate each series. Speaking of rotating each series, let's talk about what Skip Holtz should do this weekend regarding his quarterback. I know he said in the presser earlier this week that Martinez will get the start, but I highly disagree. It's almost as if the league had a say in this decision-making process that it would be such a bad look for the MVP not to get the start in the championship game. Well, regardless, Martinez will be on a short leash as Carell will be breathing down his neck, who was a better quarterback a week ago. The stats don't lie. And if Holtz doesn't make that decision to bench Martinez and put Corral in, I don't know if the Stallions win that game because Martinez was just that bad. I'm really intrigued to see how this scenario will play out Sunday night, but if the Stallions want to win back-to-back-to-back championships, Corral will need to be under center, dialing up passes to these receivers. Jay Sternberger, Deion Kane, and Marlon Williams highlight this receiving core, and all of them have accounted for over 300 receiving yards and 25 or more receptions, and a handful of scores this season. But the one guy I want to dive a little deeper into is the 2023 USFL Championship Game MVP, Deion Kane. Kane leads the team with 62 targets on the season. He also leads the team in receptions and is considered the deep ball threat for this Birmingham team. So I would love nothing more than to see this man burn Tease Tabor on a go ball because bullshit talks. But whoever is under center for Birmingham, expect them to go to Kane early and often. Flipping to the other side of the ball, and it starts up front with the league's best defense against the run, only allowing 77 rushing yards per game. Taco Charlton, Carlos Davis, Jordan Thomas, and Dontre Tillman highlight this group, and they have been playing spectacular as of late, sacking Danny Etling 5 times a week ago. But one of these pass rushers sticks out from the rest, and no, I'm not talking about personal fouls committed. Carlos Davis has been the tone setter on this defensive line. It is rare to see an interior defensive lineman lead his team in sacks, so this man is just different. The 2024 All-UFL selection is tied for second in the league in sacks and would most certainly be on my list for quarterback nightmare. Moving on to the linebackers, and these 3 are the best open field tacklers on the team. When Keava Tizzino, DeMarcus Gates, and Damon Lloyd see you with the ball, you best believe that you are going to end up on your back. Tizzino leads the team with 62 tackles on the season, but the guy I want to highlight out of this group is my boy, DeMarcus Gates. The former Chicago Bear has been around spring football for quite a while and has played in just about every league, from AAF, XFL, the Spring League, CFL, the USFL, and now the UFL. The savvy veteran is the leader of this Stallions defense, and they just aren't the same when he's out of the lineup. This playmaker is known to step up in big-time games, accounting for a team-high 9 tackles in the 2022 USFL Championship game. But he will need help from his secondary to shut down an explosive passing attack. The defensive backfield is highlighted by their all-UFL safety, A.J. Thomas, who is tied for the most interceptions on the year with 3. This group has dealt with its fair share of injuries over the course of the season, but showed up when it mattered, picking off Danny Etling 3 times in the second half. They match up against an explosive passing attack and will have to lock down one of the league's best receivers in Jontre Kirkland if they want to be successful. I'm confident that this group will step up when the defense needs it most and can force a young, gunslinging quarterback into making some costly mistakes. I like Kenny Robinson to force a big turnover this weekend for his team as he returns back to the Dome, where he started his professional football career with the Battlehawks in 2020. As you can see, I'm still a little butthurt from that Battlehawks loss, and I'm going to throw a reference in any chance I get. So we just broke down this entire Birmingham Stallions team, and I think the real challenge this week is going to be, are they able to establish the run game? You got two of the best defenses matching up against each other, so offensive line play is going to be everything. Only 78 rushing yards back in week 9, and that's simply not going to be enough if Birmingham wants to pull this out. And Matt, I know how you feel now because I am absolutely winded.
Yeah, well, TPG making some great points, playing devil's advocate to Zook and I. Drop us a chat live if he sold you on the Birmingham Stallions. Some of you may have been already. Zook and I got to lead it off and go first. But TPG all over Birmingham this weekend. And, yeah, I could see some of his points, and we're going to get into a discussion here. But first, I did want to hear from some of the guys TPG talked about. Let's hear from Skip Holtz. And on the San Antonio side, got a chance to catch up with AJ Smith and Will Reed for the Brahmas.
No, I mean, every week this entire season, Adrian has been the starter, but both quarterbacks have rolled reps. Adrian has not gotten any more reps than Matt has during the week of practice. We do our team periods in 6-play racks, and each guy gets 3. So when we go through and do this, they get 3 for us, 3 for the other. So we have rolled them all year, but I think it's important to continue. These quarterbacks are here to be developed. And yeah, you want to play in the games, but I also think that there's a lot of development goes on in the daily reps that you get at practice. I can't see right now. I'm not trying to make this a huge quarterback controversy. I made this comment earlier. Right now, we have gotten here with Adrian as our starting quarterback. And right now, Adrian will be the quarterback. I don't know what's going to happen in the 3rd, 4th series. You know what I mean? But right now, Adrian will be our quarterback. But I don't hesitate to play 2, just like I didn't at the beginning of the season. And now that we are in these games that mean everything, I will not hesitate to play 2 with where we are now. And so they've got a great defensive football team. They play. It's not an overly complicated scheme. I think it's not that they do a million things and blitz from everywhere and create an ungodly amount of pressure with what they do. They just play solid fundamental football. They're built on speed. They're athletic. They move their front. They create a lot of pressure with just 4 down. They don't need to blitz because their front is so athletic. I think their defensive ends are some of the most athletic in the league with the way that they come off the edge and the pressure that they create on an offense. Their linebackers are not 240 pounds, 6'4". They are athletic. They are fast. They are quick. And what they do is they keep the ball in front of them. And
there's 2 schools of thought. Martinez got him there. He just didn't have a great game. Matt got him out of it. Okay, we're going to go back with Adrian. There's also the school of thought that they're probably, possibly play both. So right now we have to prepare as though we're going to see both, okay, or either or. I don't think there's a difference in what they do in terms of their scheme. The scheme is going to be the scheme. About the only thing that gets pulled out of the playbook when Matt's in there is the quarterback design runs. Even though he has, he can do that stuff. I think he's has enough speed that he could do it. It's not necessarily his stick, though.
The coaches, it's Andre Gerard versus Bill Johnson, and Bill Johnson was with us last year with the Roughnecks, and we know him, so there's some mental psyche going on there as far as technique and just the stuff that goes on in between the trenches as far as setting and using your hands and your feet, and that's a very, to me, the strength of their defense is their front 7. I think after this last game, we have a lot of great skilled players, but our offensive strength is definitely becoming the offensive line. And so two strengths going at each other, that's probably going to be the tell of the tape, because I was once told as a coach, you can tell who's winning the game. Just watch the offensive line and defensive line. If one's getting penetrated the other way, 9 times out of 10, the one getting penetrated is losing.
Great stuff from those three coaches. Of course, more coverage coming throughout the weekend. We're going to hear from a lot of different players and coaches at UFL Championship Media Day, which should be a treat. Now I want to bring the boys back in because it's time to argue. It's time to debate all this stuff. I do want to go to TPG first. Let's get him back here. TPG, is that a Houston Gamblers hat?
Yes,
It doesn't matter if it's a Houston Gamblers hat. What are you doing?
Yes,
I mean, think about it, TPG. You've got Birmingham. So San Antonio and who are the last two teams to beat the Stallions?
Say that again?
San Antonio and who else are the last two teams?
Yeah, the Gamblers. The Gamblers, yeah.
So, trying to sell us on the Stallions with the former rival, but no, I know you're the people's gambler. So, of course, the Gamblers would be a good squad. Let's talk a bit about this Adrian Martinez, Matt Corral thing, because you seemed very passionate in your breakdown about Matt Corral, and that sort of lines up with where I'm at. We know that Martinez is starting, right? We also know Skip Holtz said by the 3rd or 4th series, we'll see what happens. If Adrian Martinez comes out and they punt twice against a really good defense, right, that not a lot of teams have been able to get much going against, St. Louis was one of them. If they come out and they punt twice and it's 3rd series, maybe late 1st quarter, right, and you see Martinez go back in there, are you then out? Are you like, this is the point to put Corral in? Or is it okay to play half and half, first half, second half? How would you approach this if you were Skip Holtz?
I don't think it's ever too late to put him in. If you're still in a position to win the game, then any time's a good time to put him in. I think last week when Corral came in, it was a totally different Stallions offense that we haven't seen since the beginning of the season. And I said this on Sunday's show. In my opinion, Corral's the better quarterback, whereas Martinez is the better athlete. So I understand Martinez is the guy that got him there. He's the MVP of the league. But I really think that Birmingham needs to consider about who's going to be under center and who's going to take the majority of the snaps on Sunday night.
So we go back to the beginning of the season, right? Adrian Martinez gets hurt in week 1. He's back. He's out of that game. Matt Corral leads him to the win. Week 2, they play both, struggle against Michigan. Week 3, they blow out Memphis. Week 4, Corral gets the go against DC. Rain delay, tight win. Martinez takes over from there. My question for you, TPG, because you bring up the MVP. If Matt Corral plays the whole season, is he MVP?
I mean, he's definitely in a good position. You look at, former MVPs in the USFL, and primarily they've been Birmingham Stallions quarterbacks, specifically last year in Alex Mago. So, yes, this team is built with weapons all around. It helps that the defense is as good as they are. And, yeah, I think if Corral gets a full workload this year, I mean, we've seen what he's done in very minimal game time. You give this guy a full workload of a season, I mean, he's thrown for 3 touchdowns. 3-5 touchdowns a game. But yeah, I truly believe that if Corral was to have the nod this season, that he would have balled out.
Yeah, I do love the over 80% completion percentage that you highlighted on one of your graphics the last 2 weeks. And talking to Will Reed, even he says, like, people think that Matt Corral's this pocket passer. He is not. Matt Corral can get downfield. In fact, in his last game in his college career, I think it was the Sugar Bowl, he got hurt lowering his shoulder into a linebacker. So he's a tough guy. This makes me even more confident that I'm picking San Antonio based on the fact that we talked to A.J. McCarron earlier in the year, and even he said it. Playing 2 quarterbacks, not necessarily a winning formula. I know Skip Holtz is sold on the idea, and maybe it can work. But if it's for the purpose of throwing off the Brahmas defensive game plan, I don't think you're going to do that because the players are more similar than you would think. And when you really get into film, right, you talk about the tried and true offense. They're both running the same offense. They're both going to be expected to make the same throws, make the same reads on the RPOs. So it doesn't really change anything for me. And that's where I'm going to poke a hole in your argument, TPG, because it seems to me like if you knew today Adrian Martinez was going wire to wire, are you going to pick the Stallions?
I mean, I like them from solely the revenge angle. If Martinez was to get the full workload, yes, I'd be a little bit worried. But in this game, for the purpose that San Antonio knocked him off earlier in the year, the Stallions team is going to get up and they're going to defend their title. They've been in this situation many years before. This is Skip Holtz's third championship game appearance in spring football. So regardless, I love the Stallions in this matchup.
I am going to say this before we bring Chris Zook in here to make one of his points. I do think Chase Garbers will have a better day than either quarterback, right? He's a California kid too. And what a show. You know, what an opportunity for Chase Garbers here. I mean, it all comes full circle, right? You get hurt. Now you're back healthy, still a little banged. I would call him probably around 75% with the wrist. You know, will be interesting to see how Birmingham handles that. You know, is it going to be, I mean, this team is highly penalized, and that's the perfect time to bring in Chris Zook to talk about, does Birmingham defensively have the discipline to not get these personal fouls and not do this kind of stuff that have knocked them back and set them up in bad situations? Zook, when you think about Chase Garbers and maybe him being in a similar role as A.J. McCarron last week with an injury, right? Like the wrist is still hurt, and you're the Stallions. How do you kind of approach that, and can you get away with maybe some stuff after the whistle?
I don't think they're going to let it go this week. There's a lot on both sides too. Talk about tease a little bit, right? It's there. I just don't think, but I think they're being coached up in San Antonio to try to get under Birmingham's skin. Interesting, right?
Yeah, well, you know, that could be said the same thing about St. Louis. And I'm telling you what, these probably two biggest trash-talking teams in the league. I know last year you said DC bumped their gums a lot and talked a lot of trash, and that got them to the championship. But, yeah, Birmingham talks, San Antonio talks, for sure. It's going to be interesting. Zook, I'll come back to you for the noise, right, the noise factor, because that's what everybody talked about in St. Louis, right? You know,
right.
And A.J. Smith himself, in his press conference, goes on to say, if it's 35,000 people, you come out and you look around and you're like, wow, look at all these people screaming against us. And he literally said it was on him for being too starstruck in that environment. Because remember, last year, they didn't get to play in the Dome with Houston. They hosted St. Louis. So he literally said he had his guys looking around like they were caught up in the moment. So I assume they're prepared now. But what do you think, Zook, about attendance, first of all, and second of all, how the Brahmas might handle the third straight trip to St. Louis, and will it look different for them?
Well, I think the Brahmas are used to it now. Yeah. They played there twice.
How about the Stallions? Maybe I'm missing that. Yeah,
that's where I'm going.
Okay.
My concern is about the Stallions.
Okay,
they had 4 offensive false starts last week at home. So this is a factor. If there's noise in there and they're behind San Antonio, what does that create? I don't know.
Well, we saw it on the rewind, right?
Right.
On the last drive, huge penalty to set them back. That Brahmas crowd was rocking. The most they've played in front of this season was, I guess, they had maybe 13 or 14K at home for St. Louis. But as far as a road crowd, they only played in front of 12K in San Antonio. This team did not play in D.C. This team did not play in St. Louis. And if the chatter that I've heard online is correct, a lot of Battlehawks and Defenders fans might be showing up to root on the XFL conference at the Dome. Don't think it'll be too much of a factor. Coaching-wise, I want to get into this because you have a contrast, and I'm going to go to TPG for this. Wade Phillips, 76 years old, still doing it at the highest level, right? Managing the game. You saw him throw the super challenge. However, AJ Smith and Will Reed are pretty much running the show here, right? And the assistant coaches. We know that. Wade takes a step back, and he'll tell you if he doesn't like something. And it happened between him and AJ earlier in the season. But for the most part, he's staying out of it, and he's letting his coaches coach. Skip Holtz is the opposite. He runs the show. I think he has help up in the booth. I think his offensive coordinator is technically what? Philip Montgomery, who might help him see some things, but he's calling the plays. He's talking to all the players. He's in the huddle. It's very different. So from a coaching perspective, is it better to sort of be like Wade Phillips and just be the calming presence on the sideline? Or do you give the coaching advantage to Skip Holtz, who talks to his quarterback every time he comes off the field?
I would say I would give it a Skip Holtz just because it seems like he's got a better grasp of what's going on around him. Like, it's great that Wade is, delegating responsibility to his OC and his DC, but Wade's kind of on his way out. Who knows how many more seasons Wade's got left in him. And, the hope is that, someday AJ Smith, he's a head coach in the league. So I like how he delegates that. He gives the guys the responsibility, but Skip's on it. He nothing gets past this guy.
Well, you just set him up to ride off into the sunset with a UFL championship. So I kind of like what I hear from TPG there. Maybe this is the last go around for Coach Wade if he wins a title in front of Tom Brady, right? One more thing I want to touch on. Let's bring all three of us in here because I think we'd both have some opinions. The run game, right? We all watched the Houston Roughnecks last year, right? And their inability to run the ball. And Max Borgi, to throw it back, was actually a pretty decent running back, but they just didn't use him. And when the team got down the stretch, maybe weeks 5 through playoff, they stunk offensively. They really couldn't do anything at all. And that resulted in them losing the XFL South Championship and missing an opportunity. What is it about AJ Smith that he's putting his pride aside and he's running the ball down your throat? And can they do that again?
I'm going to jump on this. So I'm a little offended that you took Skip on that on TPG. And the reason why is because Wade Phillips has been coaching for 3,500 years. And if you think that Skip Holtz has anything on Wade Phillips, you're just plain wrong and crazy.
I don't think we're talking total career. I think we're talking this game.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure about that. All I'm saying is that kind of what you touched on before, AJ Smith has to put his pride aside because Wade is the man. He doesn't show it, and he doesn't act like Skip and really push his weight on the sideline.
Couldn't be two different coaches, right?
But I bet behind closed doors, he's saying, AJ, chill. I'm the man.
Is that why they're running the ball more?
I will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, I'll just call the plays myself. And I'm a defensive guy.
See, but I would disagree. He's got this big cocky ego, and we saw it last week on the broadcast. You had Brock Heward coming up to him on the sideline saying, "Hey, what's the play call?" And he's saying GTFO. Like, is that really your game plan, or are you just telling the reporter to get out of my face?
Dr. Pepper.
I mean, I'm hoping, he gets humbled this weekend.
Wow. Yeah, AJ Smith is always fun to listen to. He certainly does. He certainly does rub it in when he wins. But I kind of love AJ Smith and his attitude. I love Skip Holtz as well. I think he does an excellent job. Some people might see him as a micromanager. I don't. I think sometimes you kind of need that kind of coaching. But yeah, you guys kind of dodged the question. Like, Is this going to come down to running the ball and stopping the run? Because we know both teams can stop the run. Who's going to run for more yards? And is that who's going to win this game?
McFarland. He outrushes everybody. Everybody else, even on his own team.
TPG, you got maybe a leading rusher. Can Birmingham outrush San Antonio? And if they do, is that a winning formula?
So I want to make a quick point before we get into this. Last week on the San Antonio Battlehawks game, Joel Klett pointed out multiple times that St. Louis cannot stop the run when they're in a too high safety look. And every time they were in that too high safety look, they were getting gashed right up the middle. So I have the confidence in Birmingham to, watch that film back and say, all right, this is what we can't do against this team, or else they're just going to run all over us. Personally, I think with two really good defenses, and we saw this last week with the USFL championship game, the team that's going to win this game is going to have to throw the ball. That's why I'm so big on Matt Corral this game, because I don't know if running the ball is going to get it done. But if I was going to have to lean on a rusher, I would probably go with CJ Marable. He's been efficient pretty much all year. He had a great week last week. And, just sometimes Ricky Person, they use him in weird ways. They want to get him the ball out of the bat. They want to throw the ball to him out of the backfield. But no, I love CJ Marable to find the end zone as well.
I'm so glad you're sticking to your guns on this one, because you're just
Listen, what we do know is the Brahmas plan to run it, because you don't fly a tight end in to get a physical if you're not planning on running it. And, we could speculate what happened there for hours. I'm not going to do that. All I know is that Matt Seibert was in Arlington, and now he's not. Now Tavon Salter is. Again, the Brahmas will be missing Landon Akers, who is their wide receiver 4. They do have a number of receivers who could potentially fill in there. Calvin Turner comes to mind, caught a few balls last week. KD Cannon, certainly a deep threat, runs a 4.3 40. And now Tavon Salter, who was with the Roughnecks and knows the A.J. Smith system and will probably be active if I had to guess. But yeah, when you take 12 personnel off the table, unless you're in practice this week, trying to coach up one of your tackles, maybe one of your lengthier tackles to play tight end, it is tough. It can be tough to run the ball. So when they are running it, I think you're going to see a lot of pistol. I think you're going to see a lot of zone read. You can run the RPO with Chase Garbers. You can't do it with Quentin Dormady. But we've talked a lot about this game. Now it's time to put our money where our mouth is. Let's make some picks, boys. I don't think this is going to shock anybody here, what we're going with, Zook. For me, it's the San Antonio Brahmas to win the UFL championship, to bring a championship back to a city who had the, San Antonio Commanders back in 2019 in the AAF. Got the Brahmas last year. I think they went 3-7. Just a tough season. And now they're back. I think their fans will have a great showing in St. Louis. And the points that I've made, they apply here. Anthony McFarland and Chase Garbers having an absolute day. Chase Garbers, the MVP pick. Brahma, baby. I'm going San Antonio.
What did Roll Tide Willie say on social media last week? I don't give a piss about nothing but the Stallions. Give me the Stallions, 3rd championship in a row. Hey, we're witnessing history here. I've never seen a team in my entire life, go back to back to back. You probably got to go back to the 96, 7, 8 bowls.
Let's pump the brakes on that. This is a new league. This is a new league here.
Hey, I love the Stallions in this matchup. Hey, 3 in a row, spring football dynasty.
All right.
That's it.
One left to break the tie.
All right. Well, we know where the tiebreaker's going. San Antonio, River, walk your ass home, Stallions. That's all I'm saying. Listen, I have so many points about this team that I didn't even make because I suck at being on camera, and
I wouldn't say that.
Listen,
being too hard on yourself here, Zook. You suck at a lot of things, but not being on camera.
I got like 65 of my script out. 65% of what I wanted to say. So we're going to talk about it here in the best bets.
Yeah. Of course, we still got some plays. And if we haven't hinted at it already, the Boulevard boys will be in the Dome at America Center for our 2nd straight spring football championship. Of course, last year covering the XFL championship in San Antonio was a treat. So we're heading back. And although none of our teams are in it, no Battlehawks for TPG, no Defenders for Matty Fresh, no Sea Dragons that even exist anymore for Zook. We're still going because we love spring football. And I'll say this. I'm looking at you, DJ. The Rock. We need to see you there. You gotta be there. I want the grand entrance in St. Louis. I want the lights off. I want the spotlight at midfield. And I want the if you smell to start the game like you did in week 1 against Arlington. Because when people are tuned into Fox and they see that, that's big time. Big time. So we know we're going to see Tom Brady. Will we see Dwayne The Rock Johnson for another year at the championship? We'd love to see it. All right, boys, let's make some money this weekend. I'll start us off. Brahmas plus 3.5. Yes, I'm picking them straight up. Do I see a situation where I could be wrong? Of course. But remember, until last week's USFL championship game, where they did cover for Zook, I think they were 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. Now, San Antonio was an 8.5-point dog in week 9, so they're getting more respect here. I think you could definitely make a case for either team to be a favorite. We've done so tonight. This line moved. It was 3, now 3.5. So Birmingham taking some money. I'm going with the underdog, Brahmas plus 3.5. I think they win it outright, but I'm happy to take the points. TPG, what you got?
So back in week 9, 27 total points in this matchup. Over under set at 41.5 this week. Week 9, though, was Garber's first game in 6 weeks, as we pointed out. And last week, Carell showed that he could put up points. So you know what? I love the over this week.
I'm tailing, baby.
Pretty
Let's
low.
go.
It's pretty low. So give me the over in this
Life's too
matchup.
short to bet the under, especially in the championship. I like that. I'm going to throw a half unit on it and tail TPG. I think it's way too low. I think one of these teams could get into the 30s. I think, everybody's healthy now, and offense comes out in championship games. We saw it last year. DC, 35-26 loss in the title game combined for over 60 points. So this is way too low for a championship game.
I will say the spread kind of scared me a little bit. Today it moved up to 3.5.
Yeah.
And Stallions with that hook.
Just based on DraftKings too, 70% of the public money on the favorite. So some money coming in. I was wrong. I didn't get any CLV because I thought this would go the other way. Zook, you don't care about the spread.
Nope. I'm here to say I'm not a bitch. I'll take a money line. I've been talking about them all night. Oh, that's right.
What's the price?
Talks.
What's the price?
Plus 150.
Plus 150.
Listen.
Should be higher than that.
Like I said, there's so much that I want to say about this team, but the only point that I want to make from here on out is that this team has been disrespected this entire year.
15-1 to open the season.
They have not been in the championship discussion at all. And I know they have a chip on their shoulder. They have one defensive player, all UFL.
That's bulletin board material.
All
sure.
UFL.
Who was it? Beckett, right?
Beckett.
Wow, so you leave Scott off. You leave Mosley off.
You leave so
Williams
many people off.
Phillips off.
They're giving up 15 points a game. That's it.
15, how many did Birmingham have?
15.3. 15.3. That's it. They're flying all over. They walk the walk. The inconsistencies come from the offense of San Antonio. And I'm going to say right now, if San Antonio offense could put up 25, this game is a lock.
Yeah.
That's it. I like it. Money line. Pay me.
So those are your best bets. I'm on plus 3.5 for the San Antonio Brahmas. TPG taking the over, 41.5. Hoping for some fireworks. And Zook rounding us out with the San Antonio Brahmas money line. It is interesting when you think about futures. We did say this team was 15-1 in the preseason. They were also 10-1 just a few weeks ago, thinking actually before week 9. Figured they'd have a chance to beat the Stallions. They did. Price dropped from there, but if you got them even before week 9, you could have hopped on and got 10-1. This team has been grossly underrated. Birmingham on the other end, yeah, they're 10-1. So they don't care about any of this. And I don't expect their fans to either that don't care about betting. But they're just not covering, right? Yes, got one against Michigan, so you're 1-0 against the spread in the playoffs, but you have not covered at a consistent enough of a clip for me to lay points with Birmingham, and that's why I'm taking it with San Antonio. If you're a player prop person, head to DraftKings, head to FanDuel, big menu of player props. We've got anytime touchdown, we've got first touchdown, and just every offensive player that will be in on it. Going back to mine, I am going to give one out here. Why not, right? While we do some props. Let's go, pulling up the price. Marquez Stevenson, first touchdown, 13-1. That's going to be the prop I lock in. I know we're out of the triple box now. Any other props you guys are looking at potentially before we head out?
What do you got for Justin Smith? Because he's not.
Justin Smith.
He's like my new boy.
We got him anytime plus 235. We got him 13-1 on first TD.
I'd bet them both.
Okay.
Bet first touchdown like less, and take any time for a lot.
We've even got the defenses up. You can bet anytime defense on DraftKings. 3-1 Birmingham defense to score, plus 320 for San Antonio defense to score. TPG, any interest from you on anybody on a prop?
Yeah, I know I talked a lot about Deion Kane when we got to the receiver segment of my little rundown, but Jay Sternberger plus 280 anytime touchdown. I'll get all over that.
Down on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Okay.
Listen,
so shop for the best prices because there is some different bounce back and forth between the two.
I'm gonna say I want to pump the brakes on Jace. He put up like 100 some yards, 7 catches in the Week 9 matchup. Let's not pretend that the San Antonio defense doesn't know who he is.
I don't know, man.
And they're gonna let him get away. I mean, and half. I shouldn't say half. I bet you 40% of his yards came on one play.
Yeah, but
let's pump the brakes.
We talk about McFarland being probably the most NFL-ready offensive player for the Brahmas. It's Jay Sternberger. You know he's going to the NFL. And
sure,
guys that are on the bubble are going to have good games, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a lot of attention.
TPG, any closing thoughts from you before we get out of here and head to St. Louis?
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to Zook for sending me home with some equipment, making tonight possible.
Most valuable producer.
MVP. Let's go.
MVP.
Making his head even bigger.
Thanks for having me on the show again, fellas, and looking forward to seeing you guys in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Well,
is that a wrap?
Throwing curveballs at me over here.
I missed.
All right, here we go. We're going to go, GTFO. Just run it. For the People's Gambler, for the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I'm Matty Fresh. Enjoy the UFL championship game because there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you next time for our championship recap and our season finale.